Blake, what's the most you've ever been fired in a single day?
Probably right now, as I confess, I ran the golf cart battery down on the company retreat a couple months ago.
What?
Welcome to the Church Gear Podcast, where we pull the tech director out of the booth and onto the stage to share the most outlandish stories and hidden wisdom from the tech trenches. And now, here are your hosts.
I'm your host, Blake Hodges, a man that went on a joyride with the golf cart with operations manager Frank. And I'm here with my boss, who just found out about this in live time and couldn't use the golf cart the next day, Toby Walters.
You seriously ran down the golf cart?
You went to sleep. Me and Frank were like, hey, so I know Frank is a thrill seeker. And so I looked at the golf cart outside and I said, Frank, you know we got to drive this, right? And I was kind of joking. Like, I wasn't going to do it alone. And he's like, okay, let's do it. And so we drove around that.
So the next day when I'm trying desperately to get that thing, dude, you are so fired.
Well, no, hang on. I didn't know about the battery till the next day. So whenever you couldn't get it to work, I thought, this is great. I'm going to impress Toby. I'm going to get this golf cart going. And then Frank goes, what if we broke it? And I'm like, we didn't break it. We just drove it around for like 10 minutes.
So for like 30 minutes, I'm trying to start this stupid golf cart and then asking like, you come out, Frank comes out. Everybody tries to start it, and the whole time you had run the battery down by being an idiot.
Again, I didn't know that I had run the battery down. I've never driven a golf cart before until that night.
How many company stories where horrible things happen start with, and Toby went to bed?
Yes, actually a lot of them. And Frank was like, we can never tell him. We've been waiting to make sure we didn't break it, but I'm just assuming since we haven't heard anything.
So Frank wanted to keep this from me.
He did.
He might be thrown into the lot with you.
Me and Frank kept it a secret for a while.
Oh,
and
my gosh.
I only kept it a secret on record. I told Frank, we're going to keep this a secret long enough that I can surprise Toby on the podcast with it.
Well, I wonder if any churches are hiring idiots out there, because Blake is available.
Yes. All right, so let's get back to...
speaking of idiots.
Yeah, and getting fired in a single day.
So... how many times did you get fired when you didn't come to the first MXU event?
I think I got fired like 7 times. I know Robbie from Four Wall, Lee Fields, Caleb Lepke. I think I'm missing a couple. Like, I just wake up.
A few.
I wake up to all them firing me on Instagram.
Yeah, you didn't show up to the MXU event.
Well, I did all the logistics ahead of time so that you
could
do it. Yes.
So we had the MXU tour just recently, and I went to 2 of the cities, Atlanta and Chicago, and you...
I went to the best city. I went to Chicago.
You're calling Chicago better than Atlanta and Dallas?
Atlanta is dangerous, and Dallas has the Cowboys.
Oh, that's true. Chicago has the Bears. Is that...
the Bears are not frightening.
No, they're not.
Although me and Dave were out at night, again, after you'd gone to bed.
Yes.
In like on the same street that someone was literally murdered the next like that night, and we try to get a lift home, and the lift pulls up, looks at us, and says, "I've canceled this ride," because like we're apparently in a bad part of town and didn't know it, and he drove off. So then we had to get another lift to get us. Church Gear gets stranded in Chicago a lot.
Your lift literally left you.
Yeah.
So this was after the after party. So you had an after party.
I tend to do that.
Did you co-host that after party with Amplio as well?
I did. I brought all of the
Any of the Amplio boys go with you?
No, me and Dave were really hoping to spot some people from the tour or from Amplio, but no one was out.
So we had the after party with Amplio, and they said, hey, let's co-host this party together. And we did it with D&B speakers as well. And they said, we're going to have deep dish Chicago pizza. I'm like, yes. And they said, we're going to have an open bar. And I'm like, okay, sure. And they said, we're going to do it at a church. And I said, what? And apparently we, actually were given permission to host an after party for the MXU tour at a church with an open bar. So it was a very progressive idea.
It's Chicago.
So we were hanging out at a table, eating our pizza and drinking our beverages, and sitting next to some tech leaders at learned that they were at a church in, I'm going to say it wrong because I don't have that North Carolina drawl.
Saying it wrong is my thing on this.
Goldsboro.
Okay.
North Carolina. And they're at Bethel Church in Goldsboro. And their names are Gage and McLean.
And I swear these two in another universe have a cop detective drama show where
100%.
Gage is doing most of the talking and Clayne's doing most of the shooting.
Yeah. Like Gage, talks through all the options, kind of like Sherlock Holmes. And then McClane is Watson, who doesn't say anything. He just literally pulls out his gun and shoots the suspect. It's like, problem solved.
It was amazing. So they were super fun.
And it was awesome because they listened to the podcast. But the one thing they gleaned from the podcast is they asked me, don't you have some guy at the company that like gets paid to do nothing? And Dave and I just like start crying laughing. And I'm like, meet Blake.
Yes, who will tell you that person is Chris. Chris gets paid to do nothing.
No. Chris works harder than anybody here.
He actually does. That's why it's fun.
And then speaking of doing nothing, you tried to go into the MXU sessions.
So I legitimately, in good faith, went to 3 sessions, and it felt like I was in Russia trying to understand Russian.
I mean, I thought it was like trying to teach a monkey calculus.
I think that would truly be easier. Honestly, what I gleaned from that was church production people are wicked smart because, like, listen, I went to college. I play a dummy, but like I know some things. I could not understand what was going on.
So between the 3 of audio, video, and lighting, which one was the most confusing to you?
Audio. And then the only thing I learned was in lighting that if you're doing lighting, the first question starts with, do I have hazers or not? Because apparently you light the whole thing differently if you don't have hazers. And that's the one thing I learned in the MXU tour.
And the only thing you truly know how to light is your own farts.
Yes. Well, if you do that, you can kill yourself because it can like go back. Don't. This is a not getting sued warning. Do not light your own farts.
But after Toby goes to bed, all bets are off.
That's very true.
And so my personal favorite part of the whole MXU tour, they actually had this guy, they told him he was going to, tour manage, but really his job was to get me food. And so I'd see him with an intercom headset walking around. I'm like, hey, buddy, it's lunchtime. Like, can you run down my tacos? And every time he's like, on it.
Okay, I really wish that didn't happen because it just went straight to Toby's head, and now he keeps looking at me going, where's my tacos? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, where's my headset?
Yeah, so I'm considering trading you for him.
Ooh, like a fantasy football trade?
100%.
That would make sense. You know who I would love to trade me for, though?
That's who we're talking about.
Well, wait a minute. Are you serious?
Yes.
This guy is the one who... What a guy.
I know.
Well... Introducing the production manager for Central Church located in Sin City, the smoothie getter, taco takedowner, Adam Taylor. Adam, welcome to the podcast.
Hello, boys.
Why?
Man, can I say something real fast?
Please.
Who the heck uses Lyft these days?
Lyft
has got to be the Android to iPhone of Uber. Yeah.
Well, I do.
I'm like upset that you use Lyft.
Hang on, real talk. The reason I've used Lyft is I've tried to use Uber multiple times and it never works for me. Maybe I just can't figure it out.
Interesting.
But
and I do need to clarify that Adam never actually fetched my tacos or smoothie. I would ask him, and he'd be like, "Yep, right on it." And then they just never come.
Oh well.
I was like, man, I hope I was that kind to you in the moment. It's all kind of a blur, right? Those 2 weeks.
Honestly, as someone who just did one of them and was incredibly tired, that's probably because of the after party, but still, I commend everyone who did all 3. That's incredible.
Yeah, it was a great time, man. Well, it's great to be here with you guys. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no, of course. Adam, the real question now is, have you gained enough energy to lie to us convincingly? Because we've got 6 of these here. I feel like you might be too tired to pull this lie off.
We'll try. I tried to make it a little more tough than I initially wanted it to. So I tried to do something I could actually stump you guys with. So we'll see.
All right. Well, here we go. Number 1, I've had a beard since I was 16 years old. I'm marking that off. That's definitely true.
Yeah, I could buy that.
Number 2,
to be true.
Number 2, I have a twin.
Is a twin? I feel like we would have seen this on social media or like he is world famous as we've gleaned.
I don't think God made 2 people that look that beautiful is my theory.
I mean, is the twin the one getting my tacos?
Oh, that would actually be pretty good. Jim Belushi gave me his table at a restaurant.
My notes say Jim Belushi.
Yeah, I misspelled it, so I went to my phone, so I would say it right.
Okay, good job.
Number 4,
I was going to make fun of you. So.
Yeah, well, that's a given. Number 4, I'm not a sports fan. He's in L.A.
He's in Vegas.
Oh, that's right. Well, is there anyone in Vegas?
They got the Raiders now.
I hate the Raiders.
Raiders, baby.
You
know who loves the Raiders? Frank.
Yeah. Well, who's apparently getting fired with me.
100%.
Number 5, I fell off the roof as a kid, and ever since I've had a fear of heights.
This says the road. Who's typing this, Blake?
A monkey with a keyboard.
Yes.
Number 6, I rode in a Range Rover with Aaron Paul, Jesse Pinkman from Breaking Bad.
Now, I want that to be true because my wife and I are watching Better Call Saul right now, and we've seen Breaking Bad multiple times. Okay.
I don't think the twin's right.
I don't think the twin's true either.
He could be lying, being like he's got a person who looks like him.
Or what if he's got a twin sister? Because that would be much less obvious.
What would Adam Taylor as a girl look like? That beard.
Pretty hot.
I don't know. That beard doesn't convert.
There's a hot chick under that beard.
Oh my gosh. All right. Keeping us from getting canceled. I'm going to go with twin because I just don't think, I know sports fan and the beard are true and the roof feels true. And then the other two feel cool and he's in a cool area. So,
I mean, I've made it my life mission to do the opposite of what you do, but I'm going to fail at this mission and go with the twin one as well.
All right, Adam, we're locking in. Are we right?
Okay. I am pleased to say you are both incorrect.
Yeah.
I have a twin sister.
Well, I'm
I have a
very
twin
smart.
sister.
See, I told you, Blake.
All right, well then what's the lie?
My lie was that I fell off the roof and I'm afraid of heights. I have no problem with heights. I actually love climbing. I love rigging. I love doing a lot of outdoor activities. I'm not afraid of heights at all.
Yeah, I'm thinking being a production manager that you better not be afraid of heights.
Yeah, I think that would be kind of weird.
Okay, so if you
there
remove
you go, boys.
If you remove the beard, do you look anything like your sister?
I actually don't. We look pretty different. Yeah, she's much smaller than me. She's about 1.5 feet shorter than me.
Who is older?
She definitely doesn't have a beard. I am older by a minute.
Okay.
By 1 minute.
And you remind her of that daily.
Daily.
Okay, let's talk about how did you get into a Range Rover with Aaron Paul?
Oh man, that was a really awesome story. Do you want me to give you the Reader's Digest version? So I went to, I'm actually a big fan of Albuquerque and spent, a lot of time going there on tours over the years. And I went there just to go on vacation one year with my wife, and we're both big fans of Breaking Bad. We actually went to go do some mountain hiking there and do some guided trail stuff that we wanted to do. And we ended up doing a full, just let's find all the Breaking Bad spots. And so the first place we went to Albuquerque Studios, and we roll up to the gate. We asked to see if we can get in. They said, no, it's not open to the public, blah, blah, blah. I get on Twitter. I start looking around.
Excuse me, I'm Adam Taylor.
I was like, do you know who I am?
I'm here to do the audio for the show. Do you want the show to happen?
So I get on Twitter. I find a lady who's a producer there, who's essentially, a nobody as well. And I DM her and she says, oh man, I'd love to show you around. I'm not in town, but they're filming at this address tonight at 3 a.m. If you go there, you may be able to see them. So we drove down at 3 a.m. to this location and we saw all the lights and TV trucks. And we just stood there and watched. And we happened to be standing near a catering table. And Aaron Paul walked up to the catering table. And I was like, I don't want to be rude. I'm not going to bother him. And he walked right up to me and my wife. There was no one else out there. We're the only two watching him film. Shook our hands, wouldn't let us take a photo with him because he had makeup. This was season 5, so he'd been beaten up and covered in scars and bruises and stuff like that towards the end of the series. So he wouldn't let us take a photo with him, but I took a photo shaking his hand. It was awesome. We're on cloud 9. We're like, this is the greatest night of our life. He says the next day we're filming at Walt's house, which is in another northern part of Albuquerque. And he's like, you guys come by, you may be able to see a few other people. I won't be there, but they're filming it this time. So we go the next day. It's like 5 p.m. Giant line of people, security. They've got people, hundreds of feet back from the house, and they're not letting anyone through. So we're just kind of chilling in my car, really far away, wondering I wish we could get up there and say hi. And this car pulls up right next to us, rolls the window down, and it's Aaron Paul. And he's like, I've been looking for you guys. I felt so bad I couldn't take a photo with you last night. And you guys were super cool that I wanted to pick you up, take you into the house, introduce you to Bryan Cranston and all the producers and writers, and make your night. And I was like, oh my gosh. So we got in this car. I've got a photo of my wife in the front seat, and he drives us through the security line, parks in the driveway of what is Walt's house on the show, takes us inside, introduces us to Bryan Cranston and a few other people on the show, and takes a bunch of photos with us and just hangs out for 30 minutes. And we ate food with them, just kicking it. And afterwards he's like, we got to take off. It was great hanging with you guys. And it was an amazing experience. And he goes, you guys can stay and watch as long as you want. We've already let, the producer and security know that you guys are okay to stay. So we give them hugs, they drive away, and we're still inside like Walt's house or in the area. And the second they drive away, the producer's like, you two out immediately.
Oh,
Immediately threw us out. But we didn't even care. We were just like, we were on cloud nine that happened, and we got to meet them, and they was just, one of the nicest people we ever met, and totally unexpected of him to do that.
That is so funny.
Do we just end the episode right here? I mean,
isn't that a cool story?
Adam, can you just go ahead before we forget and text me one of those photos, because I'm going to use that when this episode comes out next week. That's hilarious.
Yeah, I totally will. We got lots of photos. It was definitely one of the coolest trips we've ever been on.
This sounds a lot like when Dylan Howell recorded our episode, where he like actually came to the house where the Church Gear podcast was recorded, and he geeked out and he took photos.
Oh yeah, took photos with us. He was
basically
thrilled.
I'm Brian Cranston, you're Aaron Paul.
I'll take that. Aaron Paul lives.
I love that story so much because I'm such a huge fan.
Thank you. I'm glad you guys. Me too, man. It's a great show, and I love Better Call Saul as well. And we were big fans at the time, still are, and it was a really cool experience.
One thing though I'm not a big fan of is Albuquerque. Sorry, Albuquerque. My brother went to UNM. I've spent, a little bit of time there, and I'm just like, really? Like high desert and meh, it's just not my jam. And I'm sure our church friends in Albuquerque are cursing my name right now.
Toby, they can't curse your name. That would be
Blake,
a sin.
you already dogged Dallas and Atlanta, so.
Well, listen, I'm not brave enough for Atlanta. It's not Atlanta's fault.
It's the traffic scares you.
The traffic, I think we've told the story before, but I've murdered many trees in Atlanta. I miss many exits. It's just a bad city for me.
Do I need to confess my tree murder?
Oh.
Adam, did you happen to notice in Chicago many disfigured trees in the back of the parking lot?
No, on the side, like where our bus was, or which parking lot exactly?
Yep.
No, I didn't. I didn't spend a lot of time outside. But
I'm so ashamed of the story, but I literally
Did you have a little accident?
Well, we parked our truck next to the MXU bus, thinking like, oh, MXU takes up 13 spots with their tour bus. We can surely take up 3
we're parked
with our
horizontal.
box truck. And then they said, no, you gotta like pull it into a spot or park it on the street. So I back it into a spot, and the whole time I'm backing up, I'm seeing Blake in my side view mirror, just like biting his fingernails because he's like, you're crushing these trees.
He literally compressed 2 tree limbs to the point they broke off, and then now Toby is jumping over a fence, carrying tree branches, hiding them under bushes because he's afraid someone's going to notice this tree murder.
Oh my gosh!
For anyone listening,
that's incredible.
Is wondering who did that never happened.
Adam,
that definitely wasn't us.
Do you have any MXU tour confessions? Anything insane happened to you while you were out there
after Toby went to sleep?
Yeah, there's a few. I don't know how many I can share. One of them that was kind of funny, but also irritating is, the way this tour is designed is a lot of it is put on by, sponsorships, other vendors helping us support the tour. And so a lot of the stuff is not tour ready. It's not in truck pack cases. It's kind of a lot of odds and ends, right? And so you have to make all this fit. And if you've ever loaded a truck or know how to pack a truck, you're trying to build walls all the time. So you do cases that are half pack, quarter pack, or caddies that are double wide. And you try to fit stuff to make a wall every layer as you're going back. So towards the end of the truck, we always call for quarter packs, which are small cases that are, 2 feet by 2 feet ish. Ones that are lightweight that can be flipped upside down, wheels up so they don't slide around. And so I called for our volunteers in Atlanta to get all the quarter packs up on the truck and flip them and build this spot. I wasn't even really looking at what was going up there because I had sorted out what should be and what shouldn't be there. And somebody grabbed a case that said, do not tip, and flipped it wheels to the sky on the truck. And it rode like that for 3 days to Chicago. And it was a case full of hazer fluid and a hazer. And there was about 20 cases completely covered in haze fluid when we opened the door in Chicago to the truck. And I took a video of it and I laughed about it, but I felt there was a couple people on our team that spent hours cleaning a lot of cases and trying to get that mess cleaned up before we could move on with the tour. That was one interesting story that we all had a good laugh about in the middle of the tour. There was many others, but that was a good one.
Did you make some enemies that day?
Yes. Interns were put to work.
Is this when Church Gear needs to make our next confession that 2 of the Church Gear team helped load that truck in Atlanta?
Yeah, I wonder if it was one of your guys. We could blame it on you, right?
Wait, no, I thought Adam just confessed that he's the one that tipped it.
He did not. No.
No.
Oh my gosh! So
I called for a vote.
It could have been.
Well, could have been.
It could have been one of the Church Gear crew.
Oh
was
no!
Was it the guy who spit on me?
That was Blake.
No, I was not in Atlanta.
Oh, it was not Blake.
Oh no, it was
Drew. Not Blake.
Drew spit on Adam. That's
Drew.
right.
First time we met.
Yep. So we need to clarify the story in that somebody told Drew something really funny, and he like couldn't control his laughing and was drinking at the same time, and so fluid came out of his mouth while he was laughing and right onto your face. Yeah.
This is disgusting.
Okay.
Yeah, he's so.
I've never felt closer with
let's
him.
definitely blame the Hazer fluid on Drew too. He's strike 2.
I'm loving this. I'm somehow not getting in trouble at all because I wasn't in Atlanta. Speaking of being in a city, though, Adam, we know that you're in Sin City.
That was quite the segue, Blake.
Well,
that's a real stretch.
It was until you pointed it out. So tell us more.
Speaking of cities,
tell us more about
Speaking of cities, you live in a city.
You're. All right, you got me now.
Sorry, I had to jump in with Toby. It was too good.
No, Adam, legitimately, there was one episode with Lee where him and Toby would not let me segue us out, and it was like 4 different times they thwarted it, and I gave up, and I've never given up on the pod. Okay, tell us though, like, how long have you been at Central?
Let's go back to Breaking Bad.
I knew I was gonna summon that spirit.
I'm in.
So yeah, like how long have you been at Central? What's the background? What's the mission? I mean, y'all have a very unique church out there, out west.
For sure. Yeah, I've been at Central now for 8 years. And I was brought on to be the audio director back in the beginning of 2014. And over time, was given a lot more responsibility and leadership opportunities, and now oversee a large team of people. I oversee the production for the weekend as well as the whole weekend experience, so top to bottom. So that's creative programming, band, music, marketing, everything for our weekend experience team for all 11 locations. And it's been, an opportunity of a lifetime for me, something that I'm so thankful for and I never take for granted. When my wife and I decided to move here and take a chance on it, we said, we'll stay for a year at a minimum. My boss is terrible. If the culture is terrible, if we don't like the church, if we don't like the city, we'll give it a year. And we came out just on a leap, a whim of faith, and is the best decision I've ever made for me and my family. We absolutely love it here. We love the church leadership. My boss, Drew Bodine, is one of the most incredible friends, leaders I've ever had. And our church is really doing amazing things throughout the city. Since the beginning of the pandemic in 2020, we started a movement called Feed the City, and it's essentially a pop-up food pantry service. We have over 40 food pop-ups all over the Las Vegas Valley and have given out 16.5 million pounds of food to over 600,000 individuals in 2.5 years. And so that being a part of that, on top of all the other community support we do with so many other outreach groups, it's really, really been incredible to see the amount of life change and impact that we've had on the community. On top of being in a city with very a unique demographic, there's a lot of people that are hurting here. There's a lot of people that deal with addictions, with abusive relationships. I mean, drugs, alcohol, there's all kinds of stuff. And this city kind of seems to attract a little bit of that, or maybe I see that side of it as a hurting city. And so Central just wants to be a place where anyone can come and feel accepted no matter where they are in their life, no matter what they've done. We want them to find hope, healing, and a place where they feel comfortable here in a judgment-free type of church. And so I personally love being behind that. And it's kind of a badge on my shoulder for me of being like, I get to be a part of this community.
I love how, warmly and excitedly you talk about your church so often. I feel like we have guests on and, they've gone through painful seasons with their church and just the relationship there. So it's really refreshing and exciting for, to hear your excitement come through the way you talk about it. I just can't believe how often I hear Central just mentioned in those ways about what kind of ministry, how amazing the ministry is out there in a very dark culture. But also
Yeah.
Dylan Howe refers to it as part of its mission is to be the best show in town.
Yeah.
So talk to us about the production side. Is that is that
Sure.
sort of the front end of the mission? Like, we want to be the best show in town so we can get these people in to start healing them?
Sure. I would say that I think when, and Dylan, man, I owe so much to Dylan. Dylan was actually the one that helped hire me and bring me out and was an incredible leader to me and kind of gave me a solid ground to stand on to grow in my role. And so shout out Dylan. I love you, dude. I'm thankful for you. Since 2015, 2016, which was kind of part of the mission, it was a lot more showy. We used to do like non-worship songs on a weekend, like a secular top 40 song. It's kind of stuff like that. I hate using the word secular, but I just did. We do like a top 40 song, but it is what it is. Now we've kind of shifted to where we are like, our weekend's great. There's nothing over the top about our weekend. Air quotes. It's not like kind of the type of performance we used to do. It's more about a genuine worship experience. Now, our Christmas and Easter and album recordings and stuff like that, we do put on a rather large production. And part of that is, like Dylan said it best, there's a lot of competition in this city. You can choose to go see, your favorite superstar, or you can go to church on Saturday night, or you can go to an awesome beach club or something, or a cool brunch spot on Sunday morning, or you can go to church. So you definitely need to be something that is engaging, feels authentic, feels real. People want to be a part of it, but it has to be something that attracts all demographics, right? Like from the younger, if you're talking, mid 18s up to 35, all the way up from 65 and plus, and anywhere in between. So we try to be well-rounded enough to hit all those areas, but I wouldn't say that's the primary mission of our church. But we definitely have a high production value at our church in general, if that makes sense.
No, totally. And I mean, I'm guessing for that many services and that high level of a production value, there probably takes a huge team of volunteers.
Volunteers.
There we go. That's what church volunteers are on Halloween. Now that's got to take a lot of volunteers though. So I mean, how did you build this team? How are you getting guys?
Yeah.
Are you getting guys from Vegas shows? Is it easier because Vegas has so much production happening, or is it insanely difficult because everyone wants to go work at the other Vegas shows? What's that like?
Yeah. Believe it or not, there's not a lot of great AV type of industry guys that live in Vegas. A lot of the people I know that come through are all touring guys, and they're just making tour stops. And so all of the guys that we have on our team currently are ones that I either was introduced to, or someone I found as an intern, or I flew them out here and moved them here. Everyone on our team is a transplant. I don't think we have very many locals that are on the staff side. And then we have a decent pool of volunteers for Saturday and Sundays, which is camera operators, CG operators, stage hands, green room hosts, stuff like that. All of our primary roles, though, because of the level of what we're doing, are either hired staff members or they're contracted for a weekend. So a volunteer does not mix front of house or monitors. A volunteer does not do lighting. A volunteer does not direct live video. Again, I'm not saying that's the right way to do it, but for our scope and scale of what we do, it's what we have to do.
And so, as you mentioned as well, you're in a very unique climate, so to speak, in Vegas, and a very worldly culture out there. How are you guys approaching just discipleship and growing your team at the church? Do you guys do focus team stuff around Bible study and accountability and such, or how are you approaching that?
Yeah, man, that's a common question I get from a lot of people, because I think there's a little bit, and I hate to be cliche about this, but there's a lot of people that think oh, just because I'm a part of a church team, either on staff or as a volunteer or something, that kind of checks my box for spiritual growth. But that actually won't. In fact, you'll probably get worse and worse over time. And so we create opportunities for people to get spiritual growth. We have something called First Step and Second Step, which is essentially kind of a group study type of thing that people can be involved in. We have different small groups that are involved on the weekend team, one for production, one for band, that everyone can be a part of. We encourage our whole band and most of our team to sit in one experience every weekend and not just sit in the green room and chill. if you're available to. Obviously, if you're running a camera or something, you can't sit there and pay attention to the message because you're focused on your task. But anyone that's available to, we try to get them to sit in a service and be engaged with the message, because at the end of the day, we can't we always say you can lead a horse to water, but you can't force them to drink it. And so by providing as many opportunities for people to have spiritual growth and community is all we can do, essentially. And you just pray that people will take the right step for spiritual growth in their own life. And we've seen great results from it. Like we see great fruit from that. It's kind of like I don't personally want to be a part of anything where it feels like a religion is forced upon me, but it feels like here's an opportunity and a path for you to go deeper in your spiritual walk and build better relationships and kind of better yourself, rather than someone saying, here's what you need to do in order to be a part of our team. That makes sense.
No, that makes a lot of sense, like possibility over pressure. So I have a lot of possibilities, a lot of options over the pressure of it.
So
we have a lot of people
on our
we have a lot of people on our team, contractors, volunteers, that are not believers. And some of them, and I don't want to say a lot, I'll say some. But the amount of people we've seen brought in that situation, and they decide to accept Jesus into their life, they get baptized, they start attending First Step. Like, I've seen that happen time and time and time again, of people that want to be a part of something, and we allow them, we accept them for who they are, where they are in their life. And it may not happen every time, it may just be a seed planted in their life, but I've seen that life change happen just from them being a part of our team culture.
That is such a good reminder that, like, church tech volunteers are volunteers, and they're also people to, minister to, not just help you in the ministry. That kind of sounds like missionary dating, instead of you ever heard of that? Where you date someone in high school. It's very common at a high school, like a high school with a lot of churches around it, where you would date someone who wasn't a Christian because you were like, well, we're unequally yoked, but I'm gonna convert them.
And your wife is still trying to convert you, Blake.
Yes, she is.
Yes.
Indeed.
Yeah.
But no, Adam, that's really encouraging and really cool to hear.
So
I'm glad, man.
Speaking of your team, one of your team members, I won't say called you out on social media, but it's kind of a funny moment when I think, and you can correct this story because I'm sure I'm messing it up a little bit, but there was an all staff meeting recently, and you had a perfectly fancy and good production setup, but you thought oh, why don't we bring in, some bigger Digico boards and just, make this puppy shine.
Yes, I remember that. It was, we had just gotten back from a festival in LA 2 days prior called Grace Fest. And I was actually out on the MXU tour during that all staff. And I knew that by setting up our touring package would be a lot easier on the band and the person that I was bringing into the mix for me, rather than kind of using, this is up in one of our youth rooms, and rather than kind of trying to sort through what's up there and get everything going. I was like, I can load my templates for monitors in front of the house, and I know that our worship leaders and band are going to be super happy with me not being here. So there is a reason behind the madness.
Okay, so you don't just, obviously you like fancy toys, but it wasn't just for fancy toys' sake. And so if we took away all your toys on a Sunday morning, and we all know that Central's production is quite over the top, but what's the least you could do it with? Can we hand you a Mackie 16.4 and you can still make it happen, or do you at least need an M32?
We can do it with whatever, man. And I'm honestly I'm really not a gear person. Gear doesn't really get me excited, and we try to buy or beg or borrow or steal the minimal thing that we can get away with that will do what we need to do. I even made a rather large Digico purchase this year. I could have purchased a board that was bigger and more expensive and done more things, but I didn't think it was necessary for what we're doing. And so we always try to be a really good steward of our resources. And man, again, it's the grass is always greener. You look from the outside and you're like, wow, those guys must have everything. But there's a lot of stuff that's held together by duct tape that is surviving. And it took me almost 10 years to get to this level of production, to where I started with about 10 lights on the stage, 0 LED, old projectors, failing soundboards. It's taken a long time. and a lot of trading and borrowing and just doing the best I can to kind of build it up to this level.
That's tough to be the
So
best show
all
in
that
town.
to say, yes, all that to say, we could do it with nothing. We could still put on a great experience for people to get a message and worship. It's not at all about gear. And I tell people that a lot too. And people ask, like, I had people ask, like, should I buy this? Well, or is our mix going to sound better? I'm like, no, it's not. It really doesn't have very much to do with the gear at all. The fancy gear takes a 8 or 9 to a 10, but you have to get to an 8 or 9 on your own with your band, with your sources, with the quality of your content. Like it's not always about the gear.
Okay, Adam. So speaking of, you said you love to beg, borrow, and steal equipment, whatever works. So I was out at the Rock Church in San Diego recently, and they were giving me a site tour. And I grew up in San Diego, so I actually led worship at the Rock a long time ago.
Nice.
But they were showing me, the gear graveyard, because that's where church gear thrives, in the gear graveyard.
Oh gosh, are we body snatchers at this
Kind
point?
of.
I don't like that.
So they said, yeah, we used to have a ton of Midas gear, but we let Central borrow it. And I'm like, we bought a bunch of Midas gear from Central. And I'm like, was that the same gear? So I thought that was pretty funny. I don't know if it was the same gear, but.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. So I actually took both of their XL8s, if you're familiar with that console. It was like the gigantic Midas console. And I got them both fixed up and working. And then I gave them to 2 different churches here in town that needed consoles. So it was a move just because I wanted them. And I was like, hey, these are awesome. And I traded them for some stuff they needed. And then we ended up not using them and giving them to other churches in town, which was kind of cool. But they're a really cool surface, that's for sure.
So Adam, I want to go back to how you said you got to get yourself to the 8 or the 9, and the big gear upgrade's going to get you to the 10. What would you say to a church tech that's like, well, okay, great, I don't need a budget to get to an 8 or a 9. Like, what advice or trainings, or I guess I'm just like, what do you do to get to an 8 or a 9 without the gear? That's a pretty far reach.
Yeah, it is for sure. The first thing is it doesn't happen overnight. Right. The second thing is having and I guess this depends on what we're talking about. Let's just say we're talking about worship music. Is that fine? Or audio? If you're talking about audio or your mix, your band sound in general, we can start with that because I know we're talking about production in a whole, but it doesn't happen overnight. It takes having a relationship with your MD, with your worship pastor. It takes not being afraid to have the hard conversations of, if we want to get better, this is what we have to do. We have to make a decision. Like if the person that's playing is not good, or they're not playing the part right, or, they're not helping the band, like an MD or a worship pastor has to be able to make those decisions of like, are we okay with the level of this, or do we want to be better at it? And kind of what's the mission? What's the purpose of behind what we're trying to do? So all those things tie into being able to having a good product. At the end of the day, there are some churches out there that probably don't mind if whoever's playing guitar is not that good, and that works for them. But part of our culture and environment is that we want to have an excellent product, and not a perfect product, but an excellent product. We talked about this on the MXE podcast a bunch of times, but that's not being afraid to have that conversation, having relationships with people over the gear thing. Like relationships way more important, and helping develop team members, and not being afraid to push each other as team members to get better.
So in that scenario where, Bill is not playing his guitar very well, are you just muting Bill? Are you telling him he's got to get better? Are you firing him? Like, that's what you're saying, right?
Sure. I think, again, that's a conversation for, if you're the sound mixer, you're a conversation for you and your worship pastor. If your worship pastor is pushing you to like, hey, how do we get a mix better? You got to be honest and say, hey, the source is not good. There's nothing we can do with this. That's not always an excuse, but if we're just saying that scenario in general, I think that's a greater team conversation with your worship pastor.
And I've often wondered, how can I get to an 8 or a 9 when I'm trying to drag along a 3 over here named Blake.
Now, we know on the Enneagram I'm an 8, so you're actually already at an 8 over here.
And I'm a 7. You're saying you're one better?
I'm saying together we make 15.
Okay, so speaking about how bad you are at things, we're going to play a little game, Adam. So we're going to play Adam versus Blake in Name That Artist in Vegas Residency.
Dear Lord. I think whenever we play this, we need to have the voiceover from that horror movie where it's like, do you want to play a game? That's what it feels like whenever Toby does this to me. Here we go.
Okay, so, and no cheating, Blake. Don't look at my computer. I have 5 facts about each artist, and they continue, the first one is hardest, and then they get a little easier and easier. So whoever guesses the artist first, just shout it out, and you get a point per artist.
If I beat Adam, I get 10% of church gear.
No, you get 10% of Central's production staff.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
Actually, if you beat Adam, you get to go on the next gear run to Central Church in Vegas.
I'm going to throw this.
Yeah, we're working on another pile for you.
Yep. All right, Blake.
Is it borrowed gear?
It's gear from
Maybe,
the Rock.
You never know.
Okay.
Has other church names on it.
This first...
Oh, wait a minute. This is the moment to tell. This is a Sin City episode. We should tell them about that gear we got that had another church's name on it, or had
another entity's name on it.
Entity's.
So we got some gear recently from a church in LA, and
it's not from me.
No, not LV.
We were cheating on you. Sorry.
And so they're like old school video decks, and they said, just to let you know, these ones originated somewhere else before we got them. They were owned by an adult film company. They're like, we promised we cleaned off any content. And then when we got into testing them, we found asset tags on them from Playboy Industries.
Oh, nice.
I just want it on record.
Hey.
The majority of our gear is bought from a one-use church and not from a church that bought it used from Playboy.
But when you're in LA, you never know where equipment might originate from.
You never know, man.
The tip here is if you're buying gear secondhand, check the asset tag.
There you go.
All right, here we go.
So, first artist. This artist left home at 17 to pursue a music career.
Elvis Presley.
Has sold, that's the only Vegas artist in residence.
I'm going to get 1 out of 5.
You're just going to say that every time. Okay. Has sold over 140 million records. Has 4 Guinness World Records, including the most watched Super Bowl halftime show ever.
Oh, it's not John Elway. What is it? What's
Elway?
Rocket? What's Rocket Man? What's Rocket Man?
Elton John?
Elton John.
Not no. John Elway. It is not Elton John, nor is it John Elway.
I knew I was getting to it.
This artist has been a judge on American Idol.
Oh, Paula Abdul?
Nope.
All right, Adam. I feel like I've guessed 3 times. You got to have a guess here.
Final clue.
Is it a male or female?
I'm not saying yet. Final clue, and you guys better have your buzzers ready because this one should give it away. This artist has a cat named Kitty Purry.
Oh, Katy Perry.
Yep. One for Adam.
Perry was an artist in residence in Vegas?
She currently is.
The standards
as
are
of
dropping.
the last 6 months. Actually, Katy Perry's show is phenomenal. I mean, I've gone to it with multiple guys in our industry, and it's phenomenal.
Fascinating.
Okay. Next artist. This artist's first job was in a grocery store at age 12. They have their spouse's initials tattooed on their butt.
Toby, you can't say butt on a Christian podcast.
Bottom.
There you go.
They have sold over 75 million records. They have been a judge on American Idol.
Oh. It's, what's that guy? Steven Tyler.
Nope.
Darn it.
Now, we'll see if you know this fact about me, Blake. This artist's son used to sit on the school bus next to my son.
I don't know what we're talking about here now. Also, can we talk about how Steven Tyler doesn't look like a human? He looks...
You're just trying to get out of this game because you're losing.
Yep.
I'm guessing this is probably a country artist.
Yes. I have stood with him in line
Luke
for
Bryan.
sushi. You got one, Blake. It's Luke
Yeah.
Bryan.
Luke Bryan.
Okay, next. This artist is the best-selling American rock artist of all time.
Oh, Elvis Presley?
No.
Dang it.
American rock artist.
You know, the definition of rock and roll, I feel like, has gotten really skewed because now, like, Fall Out Boy,
Right.
it's rock and roll.
Right.
This artist has a music video directed by David Fincher.
Nope. I got-
This artist has been a judge on American Idol.
Are all of these
Did you get all these names from American Idol?
I did not. It was just
Steven
happenstance.
Tyler.
No, but you are awfully close.
Aerosmith?
There you go.
Oh, this is like, okay.
Dude, Adam, you're losing to Blake right now.
I
This
leg-
is horrifyingly
I'm
embarrassing.
just along for the ride.
Hang on.
I'm helping him feel better. I'm helping him get a win.
Story time real quick. I ran in Franklin. I was coming out of Kong Skull Island and I see this really short girl with a bunch of tall dudes. And I'm like, that looks like a band. And I go up to her and two other guys and I go, are you Paramore? Like to her? Because I'm so like, freaking out. And she's like, I'm a part of Paramore. And I was like, oh wait, no, you're Haley Williams from Paramore. And so she let me take a photo with her. She was very nice. And as I'm walking away, I hear the guys go, they never want to take a photo with us. I felt so bad.
So you're saying everybody wants to take a photo with Steven Tyler and nobody cares about the rest of Aerosmith?
Yes.
Mm.
I
Also-
mean, do you know the names of anyone else in Aerosmith? Probably not, right?
Their names are Arrow and Smith.
Joe Perry? Okay.
Joe
Okay.
Pesci.
We got-
Toby.
Joe Pesci is not
Pesci.
in Aerosmith.
But he is
All right. Adam, man, if you lose this, you're
Yeah,
going to be driving
yes.
your gear.
I'm getting 10%
To
of
us.
church gear.
Oh no.
Okay. This artist, their stage name is actually their real first name. They got their start in a church choir in Chattanooga, Tennessee. They are part owner of the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Whoa.
This artist has acted in several movies.
I feel guilty for saying Elvis again. But is it Elvis Presley?
Elvis does not own part of the Cleveland Cavaliers.
His estate could.
I know when you said residencies, I was thinking like Frank Sinatra,
I know.
like
Same.
some of the old school.
Same.
Now we're
People-
going
These are all
current, baby.
residencies that have started in the last like 90 days.
Yep.
People of quality.
Okay, and
Yes.
finally, this artist is credited with launching the career of Justin Bieber.
Oh, Usher.
Yep.
Oh,
Oh, it's
easy.
2-2
I
now.
was going to say T-Pain. Dang it. My wife loves Usher.
Yep.
Like, she thinks he is a good-looking man.
He is a good-looking man.
I didn't say he wasn't.
You, not so much.
Well, somehow those two tastes
Did
overlap.
Usher launch your career as well, Blake?
Where does me and Usher's looks overlap is the better question.
Absolutely nowhere.
All right.
Okay, final one. This is for all the marbles here. This is for 10%
I
of Central.
don't want a freaking marble. I want 10% of church gear.
So I get 10% of the company if I win this. I'm in.
That's
I don't know
all.
how this happened. Dang it.
Look, Adam, I got him to sign some stuff. It was late at night at the after party in Amplio.
Yeah.
Okay, final artist. This artist began their career as a wedding singer.
Elvis Elvis Presley.
You're just going to ride Elvis all day. Okay. This artist got their big break when they were roommates with the cousin of Kanye West.
Justin Bieber?
No. This artist has been a judge on The Voice.
Oh, Adam Levine.
No.
What's the other dummy?
Although very trendy of you right now.
Dummy.
Not Luke Bryant. It's Blake Shelton.
No. This artist is married to a Sports Illustrated swimsuit model.
Oh, who's the guy that did the song Crazy? It's that guy.
This artist has bought a keyboard from me for a concert in South Africa.
Oh my gosh. It's the guy who did the song Crazy, but I can't remember his name.
Wait, is it really? No.
Yes.
Uh,
No.
I'm just waiting
Hang
for
on,
one of
hang
you
on,
to
hang
come
on.
up with it.
Stop. It's not John Williams. It's not Elton John. It's oh my gosh.
Elton John.
Some might say
Oh,
this
are you-
man is a legend.
John Legend.
John Legend.
Blake, you just won.
That was too much of a hint. There's no way he
hang
won.
on,
You
Adam.
said his name.
To be fair, I swear I had him in my mind for the last 45 seconds because I remember that story.
Congratulations, Blake. You now own 10% of MXU.
I'll give that back. All right. I wanted the church gear stock. Okay, Adam, to get us back to, we should cut that whole segment, to get us back to some actual content here. We always wrap up our episodes with a tech takeaway. This is a tip you would give anybody that's like, hey, this will make your Sunday services better. It can be philosophical. It can be technical. It can be, about your various relationships with pastor or worship leader or your wife, whatever it may be. So what would be your tech takeaway on hey, this will make your service better?
Tech takeaway, again, I may sound like a broken record because I say this to everyone that asks me, but it's man, work on your relationship with your leader of your team. Work on your relationship with your peers and with the people that work for you. We have a staff value here called Honor 360. So it's not just always honoring up to all the pastors. It's honor up, down, all around. So it's honoring those that you serve, honoring those that serve you, and honoring your peers. If you work on your relationship with them, and honoring them and treat everyone with kindness and respect, everything else in your weekend will be better. I promise you.
That's good, man. Is building that relationship just a function of time? Is it asking intentional questions to get to know them? Is it surprising them with coffee?
I think it's all of the above, man. I think it's putting people before the product. And I think it is all those things you just said, but it's being one united team that all wants each other to win, succeed. And you're not just there to press a button or just to make some pastor happy or just there to make your ego, fuel your ego. You're there to accomplish the same mission together and you're all in it together and you're a team that loves and cares about each other.
So is there anything you'd like to plug, man? We really appreciate you coming on the show. You want to point anyone to your Instagram where you're like, I don't need to be bothered?
Man, yeah, not about me, but check out Central Live, our touring worship band on Spotify. We're doing a lot of individual dates and Christmas tours coming up this year. We're doing a show in Tucson, Arizona next week if you're in the area. So yeah, check out Central Live and check out some of our music. We'd always appreciate the support, man. Thanks to you guys for having me on, and hopefully I'll get to hang with you guys soon again.
Oh, totally. I'm just hoping we can keep Drew from spitting in your face again.
Right? He's not allowed to hang with us.
And Adam, just email me your Venmo handle so I can pay you that $100 for letting me win the game.
Absolutely. I thought it was 1,000.
Well, it was 10% of church gear is what it was.
You are the first guest to ever lose to Blake. You should be ashamed of yourself.
I wanted him to feel good. I let him have it.
Yeah, Adam's a good guy.
Through the comp.
Thanks for listening. And hey, congratulations on surviving Sunday. If you happen to make it through next Sunday as well, join us again for your weekly Tech Breather.
Blake, do our fantasy football friends that have joined our company league realize that I actually put my own team together this week? I made my own picks.
And did you win or lose, Toby?
That's beside the point.
Okay.
But I feel like I want a little, recognition that I didn't ask you. What should I do? I made the call to keep Keenan Allen in there. It was the wrong call.
Well, and I appreciate that you didn't message me. I was at the beach. I probably wouldn't have been very helpful.
You messaged me from the beach.
I did. Well, I miss you when I go on vacation.
You were like, hey, check out this video, but don't show anybody.
Well, I thought it was pretty. Did you think it was funny?
It was something.
It was something.
It was something.
I was dancing like Elvis on the beach. But anyways, we're getting off track here. Want to do something new. We want to give a new code out. There's various ways you may or may not get a small discount at Church Gear, but this is literally the biggest one.
Is it Adam's Venmo?
It is Adam's Venmo.
Okay.
Well, Adam is paying for all the discounts that get used. But essentially, it's 11% off any of the gear at Church Gear. Just use code, where's the code? I think it's podcast. Yeah, just use the code podcast. If that doesn't work, hit me up at the Church Gear account. I'll make sure you get it.
How are you giving away 11%? Is this you thinking you own 10% of the company,
It is.
so you're going to give away one more percentage point?
Well, I'm giving away 1 percentage point based upon all the disciples that didn't betray Jesus.